For the last few months, I was experimenting with this $100 free credit that I got from Linode. So when you sign up and you use a particular token while signing up, you get $100 which you can use. So I saw some few videos on YouTube and I was sort of curious to like try it out and just see what all different features are there in these different providers. I was working on Linode, so there are like a bunch of things which I was able to like try out and get my hands dirty. So I'll perhaps just walk you through a little bit of what I've learned in the last 3 months of experimentation. So as you can see in this invoice, I had there are multiple billing cycles. So in this one particular one, I've used around $50 of credits. I spun up multiple servers from different durations and they charge based on the hour. Their pricing is very transparent. So I perhaps will try this again in the future. One of the most frequently used ones is like a virtual machine, simple VPS, virtual private server. You would go to Linode and then you would click on create Linode. I normally use like the latest version of Ubuntu, which is the stable. So let's say 24.04 or even this one, whichever you want. Then you choose a region. Let's say I use Mumbai. They have like they have multiple types of plans based on the CPU and memory and RAM requirements or storage requirements. I was mostly experimenting with a shared CPU and also with a dedicated CPU to see the difference. So you can start off with something like this, and based on the hours that you use, you would get charged. So let's say if I start using at 12 o'clock, currently it's 12 o'clock, and I use it for like half an hour and I stop it, I have to pay the price for the whole hour. So yeah, you can also like switch the machine. Let's say you're using this particular machine, Linode 1 GB. You can also like upgrade that machine. So the hours I think get carry forwarded. They continue with the same previous like 30 minutes which you used, and the next one will get will continue with the next half an hour will continue with this new machine's pricing or something like that. I had seen some videos on this. So you give a particular name of your user and you give it a password. You can log in with this username password, or you could also use like SSH keys if you have enabled them. You can use those to like easily connect to them. Perhaps I will make another video going in depth into SSH, because this also took me some time to recollect because I forgot parts of it. You can set up a firewall, you can set up a virtual private. I think this is like a network layer or something, I believe. I didn't experiment much in this. You can set backups if you want. I kept most of this as default and I connected. Once you do this, it will spin up the machine, and once it's running, you'll get an IP address. You just do SSH and the like root @IP address. It will ask you for the password, or if you fill up your details in your SSH config, you can directly SSH to it. So let's say this is a empty server, right? You need to like update your packages, and maybe let's say in my case I wanted to do something in Node.js or React.js. I will like install npm and Node.js using the apt commands, and then I would like maybe clone my repository, or if it's a public repository, and then do npm install and npm start. So when I do an npm start, it would give me an IP address, and that IP address, let's say it's running on some port 3000. I could access the IP address of my machine which I got from this, and on port 3000 I would be able to see my React app or something. You can also like configure different things. For example, I own this particular domain. I could configure a subdomain, let's say cloud.rahulmakhija.in, and I pointed to this IP address of the machine which I got created here. So whenever I visit that URL, it would show me this particular, it would redirect to this internally behind the scenes. Yeah, so I experimented a bunch on this Linodes. I ran multiple applications. I was trying to do perf testing and see how much load can this server handle, and I tried increasing the size and all that stuff. So I got a little bit experience in that. If you are also interested, you can also try it out and use these credits. This particular thing, I didn't get to do much hands-on on it. I thought it's maybe a way of like increasing the storage of your other machines. The other things I experimented was like, let's say I needed to very often I would spin up a machine on, let's say, the same Ubuntu version, and I would want to like install Node.js and npm and all. That would take, I need to remember the commands and all. So I could write a script which would, so when I create this, I could, or even when I create this, I could also click on my existing script which I created, which has like apt update and then upgrade and then the apt install Node.js and npm and all those commands. I could make a script and I could say, okay, spin up this machine with the script. So then I would already have Node.js and npm installed, and I can just directly start working instead of having to do that manual step every time. So this was one interesting thing. I believe this part is wherein you can, I'm not experimented with this. I initially thought it would be with respect to Docker images and all, but I don't know, I may be wrong. I thought it is similar to like Docker Hub and other places. Here you can also like mention your domains here, and you can do multiple other subdomains, and all the routing will be handled from their namespaces, from Linode's namespaces. I already had set up my namespaces using GoDaddy, so I didn't do all that stuff here. Additionally, I also experimented with Kubernetes. So Kubernetes, when you set it up, it will, you give it a label and mention a region. Let's say I give it Mumbai. It will ask you which version of Kubernetes you want, and there's also one high availability control panel. I didn't try this out. What I tried was I added some shared CPU. So here you can mention that I want 2 of this and I want like maybe 1 of this. So it basically, you can spin up how many nodes that you want and you can create this. It will tell you the pricing here. Once you spin this up, it will give you a kubeconfig file which you can either copy it and directly use it, or you can just copy parts of it, add it to your existing config, and then switch to that particular context, and then you'll be able to see the pods and all. Then I tried different things in like I made some files in YAML, and I deployed an Nginx server and tried a bunch of things in that. So you can see like just like a normal server, you do Kubernetes get pods, kubectl get pods, and your namespace and all, it will show up all these things. You can also like do things, for more advanced people, you could use Helm and deploy multiple Helm charts and all, but I was just trying to get familiar with like just spinning up my own Kubernetes as I need and just getting familiar with this. The goal was not to exactly go in depth in Kubernetes, but yeah, it was interesting. I also tried this. I believe they charge a fixed price for this, if I'm not wrong, for enabling this. And you basically create like S3 buckets, which you have in AWS. You can upload different images and videos and JS files or whatever you want. There's also like guides on how do you set up a website on it. I tried a bunch of things. They also have a CLI approach wherein you can, I believe I was using this link or a bunch of similar links. Maybe not. I thought it was an article, but anyway, I misread. So yeah, you can upload things. I found this slightly buggy in comparison to the other things. So I may not use this in comparison, but yeah, it's simple. Just I also tried installing the Linode CLI. Once you get the authentication set up on your terminal, you can also like use the Linode CLI to upload files to this particular place, or even download files, or you can also like make like signed URLs. I think I tried signed URLs in this. One more interesting thing is like there's a thing called marketplace. So if you want to deploy a WordPress website very quickly, you can say that I want to deploy with this particular stack, and you can choose your machine and all that, and the plan, the size of the CPU, etc. It would just spin up that one. It will bring up the machine and it will already have like WordPress set up on it. So that I thought is a good like way of setting. People who must be setting up WordPress websites very often, or different types of applications, it will be easier to like have it pre-configured or some starting template to start off with. I also tried something called Nextcloud here. There is, let me search this. Nextcloud is like an alternative to Dropbox and Google Drive, etc. it has multiple things inside of it. You have like something which is like a Dropbox client which you can install, and once you upload files in that, it will get synced to some place, and you can have it. Let's say you log into Nextcloud and you give your server's name. So here, like I said, I had used this particular thing as my Nextcloud server, and then I had logged into the. I put that login to that. I put my server name and some credentials to log into that Nextcloud on my phone, and I was able to like download files which I had added to the Nextcloud from my browser, from my desktop. It also has like if you have WhatsApp and these other chatting applications, you can use They have a talk application which you can use for type messaging people. Maybe if someone wants a private chat which is not shared with anyone, except in this case the way you host it. That was an interesting thing, I thought. They have multiple things in this. They have note-taking apps and multiple things. So it's an interesting thing which I got to experiment with. There are multiple databases and all, but generally I prefer using. I had experimented with a serverless database once. I feel I may try this someday with using like I take a machine and I deploy multiple Docker images on it. But yeah, I didn't go that in depth in this. But it's pretty interesting the number of things that they have integrations for. You can also like set up some defaults, like here it's asking you if you want to set up SSL certificates and your some inputs for your which will be used to create your WordPress website. So let's see this again. VPS I spoke about the volume. I spoke about stack script which I experimented with. Yeah, that's a high level of what I learned in this. That's pretty interesting. It's free to use the credit, so I encourage everyone to like, if you find these things interesting and want to go into that rabbit hole, it's good, and you learn some like high level skills across different things which are used in CI/CD and all. It's always good to like build your knowledge. If you have any questions in this, or you have done something in the past which you want to share, I'll be happy to know. So you can maybe leave a comment or something, and we can get discussing with this topic. Cool. Thank you for watching.